Arthur Fleck is a man who is a freelance clown, beaten down by the world around him, emotionally, physically, and mentally, while struggling with his own personal life, taking care of his mother, having very little social interactions with people, and suffering from a debilitating disorder that forces him to laugh at inappropriate times. Eventually, Arthur breaks and kills 3 men on a subway. This creates chaos not just for him, but the world around him, as he is no longer Arthur. He is now Joker. Joker, while on the surface just being a villain origin story, tackles issues that really deep dive into what it is to be a part of a society and how fragile that position can be broken. In this first half of Season 3's finale, we ask, why is society the big joke? When we first meet Arthur, he's already breaking down before we even establish who he is, trying so desperately to find some sort of light within his world, and seeing how dark and dingy everything is around him. The streets of Gotham riddled with pollution, corruption, and just overall negativity reflects Arthur's attempt at just finding some positive in the world. In this positivity, he sees a little life raft in his world. He has a mother that loves him. He has a show that he loves, the late night show with Murray. He even has aspirations and goals to become a comedian and a possible love interest with his neighbor that lives a few doors down. For all of the positives that go throughout Arthur's life, there's more negatives. He gets rejected by a social worker. He's essentially in free fall for just trying to have his job. He has no real friends except for a person who suffers from dwarfism, and much like him, is seen as a freak comparatively to the, quote, normals in society. There's even a point early in the film where he's merely just holding a sign, just trying to get people to smile, dancing around, then having his sign ripped from him, chased down an alleyway and beaten. Parallel to his own world, help isn't coming. Truly, it's up to the individual to take care of themselves, because there is no shining light in this world. Later in the film, these 3 businessmen that Arthur kills instigate a riot of society as people start to embrace this clown who killed. It is split between the poor and the rich, the hierarchy of society, especially with Thomas Wayne, the richest man in Gotham City. Having Thomas Wayne seeing this as an example of the darkness of the lower people. Instead of seeing them as human, he sees them as less than, subtextually, at least, from the surface. Whereas Arthur tries to figure out who he is, even believing at one point that he's actually Thomas Wayne's illegitimate child, that he had his world taken from him, that he is owed, even having his own hero, Murray, look at his stand-up footage and make fun of him, making him less than a person and instead a joke. The final absolute straw for Arthur is the realization that this girl who he truly, truly believed loved him, cared for him, was the one shining beacon in his world, really never was. The only thing that was ever real in his world was his actions, was what he did, was the killing. And so he takes how people see him as the freak and embraces it. No longer being Arthur Fleck, now simply referring to himself as Joker, dyeing his hair green, wearing face paint, almost contorting his body into something not normal, seeing death as just a way to get a good laugh for himself, because it all leads to one giant joke. Arthur embracing everything he's done, all the negativity, all of the horror of the world around him, is now finally happy, is finally himself. He truly understands what it means to enjoy anything in his world. He realizes that the greatest joke, the biggest joke, was that he let society take him over. That the only thing holding Arthur back was himself. That it took a clown to become the normal of society. That the only true face is one that's forced. And that the brightest, most vibrant, most colorful of characters that one can create, as simple as a white face or green hair, can be darker than anything in black. Finally, with the movie ending, not with a corrupted laugh, not with a forced laugh, not with a debilitating laugh as Arthur's had throughout the entirety of the movie, but with a simple, real laugh. Having his therapist ask what was funny, he simply responds with, "You wouldn't get it." So, why is society the big joke? The Joker is one of fiction's greatest villains for a reason. He forces us to look at the reflection of ourselves, to see that the world around us is dark, is negative, is just bitter to people for the sake of bitterness. That being mean, that being cruel, that being unkind is not uncommon. It's the norm. And the reason that is because it's comfortable. It's easier to frown and despise than it is to smile. The Joker paints on a smile as if to force himself to be happy. But the difference is, and the funny thing is, he is actually happy. He's happy that he has embraced something bigger than himself, that he is darkness through light, that his painted face, his green hair, and his bright colors are not actually a reflection of what society could be, but a negative parallel to what society is. That you can do anything negative as long as you're smiling, as long as you're happy, and as long as you're in denial. And so maybe the joke is that that's all it takes. It's just a smile, even if it's forced. But in the end, these aren't answers. They're hypotheticals.
The hell are you supposed to be?